Hello and welcome to the Ian Norfolk Experience. I'm your host, Ian Norfolk, and today we got my true awesome co-host. We got Ethan Eskin. Say hello, my dude.
Hey,
And we got my other good friend, Reed Allenstein. Introduce yourself.
Hello.
Incredible. So, on today's episode of the Ian Norfolk Experience, we're going to be talking about UFOs. What a great way to start off a podcast,
hmm
So, have you guys heard about the Pentagon recently saying that UFO, like the Pentagon has released information about UFOs, and they're saying that there's these couple of videos that they just have no proof and like they have no excuses, like they're just saying that it's unidentified. Have you guys heard about this?
yeah, I heard about this. I watched some of those videos, and it was really interesting. You don't really think about that often. It's like, oh, aliens, okay, but at the same time, I don't know if it's actually aliens.
Yeah.
Probably isn't.
What I've been thinking for a while is that it's like the Chinese, or it's like another like part of the or another country's government.
Hmm.
hmm
That's what I think, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they might be like, oh, like look at the weird shapes, but like we don't know. That one stealth bomber, the triangle-shaped one, that thing was like under wraps for 40 years, and nobody even knew we had that kind of technology until they released it. And that
Are you
thing was
talking
like,
about the A-12?
is that the stealth bomber, the black one, B12,
Well, there
the
were
B12?
two. There was the A-12, which was the Archangel one. Uh, the SR-71 Blackbird was
Oh, the
basically
black
the
one. I
A-12.
I know that one. That one's out front of the science museum.
Yeah.
But what was the big one where it's just a triangle? The B2? Is that what it's called?
Um.
Yeah, the B2 bomber. You guys know
The
what this is?
B-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
This
seen it.
thing, they had a whole program about it where they were keeping it under wraps because nobody really knew that this kind of stealth technology existed, and they wanted to have
Mhm.
these like flyover locations without being detected. So this thing came out, I think, what was it, like the 50s or the 60s? I could be totally wrong. I think, oh man, it came out in the 80s, but I know that they had it in wraps for like a solid like 20, 30 years. So like imagine in the 80s, like nobody even knows this kind of thing exists
Yeah,
because
for
like
sure. That was super high tech for back then.
yeah, I mean think about it, dude. You could go anywhere in the world like under complete stealth coverage.
Hmm.
Absolutely insane. So that's what I think it is. I think it's like just a bunch of crazy new technologies that either I doubt the government's trying to hide it, or maybe they are. I don't know. Isn't that crazy? Do you guys believe in
Yeah.
aliens and that kind of stuff?
I mean, you kind of have to. If you think hard about it enough, there's got to be people out there, but I don't know if they've been here.
Yeah. It's. I think it's a very weird topic because there's no evidence that there is any, but there's also no evidence that there isn't. So.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to prove that there haven't been aliens here ever because we really can't.
Wait, do you believe that aliens have like influenced Earth?
I mean, probably not. Oh, probably not in our lifetime, and probably not in the modern
You're
like
saying
existence
there's
of
like
the
a
one.
possibility that like
hmm
people like aliens visited like Egypt or like the Aztecs and stuff?
I mean, I wouldn't say even that soon. I'd say like years and years, like thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago. I'm saying like way
They
back.
just like came here and saw these like weird animals and were like, all right, let's do it.
I mean, probably if you're really a spacefaring species, you're you're gonna probably see something around where we are eventually.
Yeah. What do you
And
think,
it's
Reed? I feel like this is kind of a weird topic.
Um. I agree, and I don't think aliens have really visited us at all. Um. I know people like to think about the really old civilizations with advanced like stuff that you couldn't do with the technology they had at the time. But I think they could have just been surprisingly good at it. And I think some people are just looking for something more out there. And I don't think aliens would have helped us without coming back.
Yeah, I feel like the coming back thing seems pretty. Like if they came for Egypt, like there's totally no way that and it's been like 5,000 years since like the what is it called? What was the period of Egypt where it was like the very beginning?
I'm
Um,
not sure what it's called.
Beginning.
periods of Egypt, whatever. I'm gonna keep talking though. But like so every single time something like this comes up, like one of them is it was like these people in Africa who have no knowledge of like telescopes and have no like advanced um, technologies or anything. They already
Mhm.
knew about like the existence of Uranus, which for most people is like thought to be non-visible from the surface of Earth because it's so far away.
Mhm.
But it turns out that if you have really good vision and it's a really dark night, and think about this, these people are in I think sub-Saharan Africa, so like there's not a lot of light pollution out there.
Of course.
I think there's a pretty good chance that at least a couple of them had noticed another planet because planets aren't like they're pretty hard to distinguish, but over time if you see they move different than everything else, you can
Mhm.
figure out they're called planets.
And when was this like? How long had they known about it?
Oh, this was like they discovered this stuff in the 50s because all these explorers went around to all these tribes in
Right.
Africa doing like decolonization, and they found out
Mhm.
that one of them like had this ability, and the guy who figured it out, the explorer, the I think he's probably what's like the study of humans? What's that one called? Anthropology. I think he's an
Yeah,
anthropologist,
apology.
and he was like, um, that was his guess. He thought that somebody came there and told him about it.
Oh,
Or like,
interesting.
I feel like all this stuff is just crazy. You know,
Yeah,
like there's, I mean, there might be a chance, but I feel like humans have such like ingenuity. Like if we could figure some stuff out, I wouldn't doubt it.
for sure. Like just because they're not developed in other ways doesn't mean that, that they can't know anything.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly, this is kind of a weird thing. But back to the UFOs. It'd be pretty gnarly. Like, what would you guys do if aliens just like showed up? They just like dropped down in like Pershing Square, and a dude came out. I don't know what he looks like. He could be some weird thing. I don't know. He just walks on out of the spaceship and he's like, "What's up? I'm an alien."
We can't communicate with them is my first thought.
Yeah, mine would be what's the government gonna do?
Can we get
Yeah.
who was that?
Because they're probably gonna be like, let's take that shuttle and that dude, let's go
I
probe
don't
him.
want them to react with force as we've seen in like literally every movie
We
ever.
gotta we gotta get Amy Adams. She's the woman from Arrival. We gotta get her.
hmm
What if he came
She'll
out like,
make the little ink circle thing.
Yeah, the weird ink circle thing. And then they
hmm
show like that one guy who's Hawkeye, whatever the actor is, and he's like trying to communicate.
Jeremy something?
Jamie Renner
Jeremy
or something.
Clarkson.
He
Yeah,
ran
that one.
Renner.
Renner,
Um,
not Clarkson. I don't think Jeremy Clarkson would do well with the aliens.
is that the Top Gear guy?
That's the Top Gear guy.
Wow, that's amazing. I feel yeah. If they showed up, that'd be a pretty bad day for humanity. That'd be a real wow.
It could be a
Not
good day.
necessarily.
Okay, but I feel like after that point, it's like we're kind of screwed. Like these people are so much more powerful. I mean, the fact that this guy could get here is insane.
Yeah.
But he could also just be like, you guys got to that good technological age. We're here to give you some gifts as like a show of goodwill. You know, maybe they
hmm
have
Oh yeah, what
the
if we like
government they're trying
reach
to
the
start.
point?
Maybe that's why they're waiting for us to reach the point where we can like travel to them without help, and then they'll be like, yeah, we
They
exist, you
should
know?
open up a starport so then we can just move in and out of the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, if I was an alien and I was like had that ability to be that spacefaring, if there were people who are relatively smart and able, I'd be like, hey, yeah, I'll help you guys.
Like, what if we're really
There might also
stupid?
be like
Here's the thing.
alien laws.
There's this big reason. There's this like group of people, scientists. They're not like conspiracy people.
Hmm.
And they believe the reason we haven't made contact with aliens is because it's like they did a good example. It used to be radio when they discovered it, but now people use Twitter. They say like, so you know how you can tweet people and like
Hmm.
we understand what tweeting is and we can read and we're communicating with each other. So like if
Hmm.
you're sitting across from me in a room and I send you a tweet, you get the tweet and you now know what I sent you as a message, right?
Right.
But like a squirrel or a dog, they don't know that's happening. They don't know that there's any communication, okay? And they're looking up, they're using their ears, which in our equivalents is like our telescopes and our radio dishes trying to detect stuff, right?
Hmm.
And we're not getting anything in those ears of ours. So they believe that aliens have figured out some faster or like speed of light, faster than the speed of light communication that could be just going over us.
Right.
Because I think radio's only existed for like 100 years or so.
Hmm.
So like, think about that. I mean, we could like in the next couple of years have a completely new form of communication.
Yeah, and I mean, what I always like to think about is like, let's say we're, like if they've thought about, if they've created something that's better than like the speed of light. I always jump to the idea of like, what if it's not traveling that distance at the speed of the light? It's just skipping that distance, which is a really interesting idea,
Yeah, the whole
like the idea
wormhole
of being
thing.
able to jump.
Well, do you
Mm.
guys so like according to all known laws of physics? By that
There's
I
no way that
basically
a
mean
bee should
yeah,
be
I
able to
basically
fly.
Einstein. According to all known laws of aviation, there's no way a bee should be able to fly. No,
Yeah,
like
its body's
Einstein
too fat
and
for its
those
little
people,
wings. To,
they were like, there's no way we can travel faster than the speed of light.
all right.
But then there's this one.
What if it just didn't travel it?
I think he's a Mexican physicist.
Hmm.
He goes by RCBA. That's his like last name, I think. Don't know his first name though. He figured out this method called an RCBA drive, which is what people think is used in like the prequels of Star Wars. You know those little
Hmm.
circles. Because basically, what this will do is it'll take exotic matter, which is like you know how there's the like fabric of space and time thing that Einstein created.
Yeah.
And you guys know the example where like you put a sun and it puts a dip in the fabric, you know?
Yeah, but the dip, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so exotic matter, we have no way of observing it, and we like it could totally not be real, but we believe that that's the one that does the other way. Like it brings
Right.
stuff up. So what they were thinking is if you bring something up right behind your ship, that's gonna stretch the quilt of space and time, and it's gonna
Uh-huh.
you're not gonna move at all, but relatively space is gonna move around you, and you're gonna be able to travel a distance without having to move at all, which could
And
theoretically be faster than the speed of light.
would it?
Yeah, theoretically. And we would just need some exotic matter to test it, which we don't know how to get. But
Right. Yeah. That's kind of hard to capture right now.
yeah, I'm gonna just go out into my backyard and just get a bucket of exotic matter real quick.
Just dig it up out of the ground.
I'm pretty sure that's one of those resources where like it costs like $16 trillion for like per gram of exotic matter. It's insane. Um, yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah,
kind of like the whole. Did you hear that one cat? Uh, if you convert the
sure.
energy of one cat, it can power the whole country of Norway. I saw this in a video.
What do you mean convert the
So,
energy?
you know there's E equals MC squared?
Yeah.
The only
Mhm.
way you could get that is if you take, like, your proton and then you hit it with an antiproton, and when they collide, they release 100% of the energy.
Hmm.
So you just need a cat, and you need an anti-cat, and if you squish them together, you'll get enough energy to power the entirety of the country of Norway.
Hmm. And so, can we, is it that, how
No,
easy is
that's
it to
not
do
possible.
that?
All this stuff is, like, crazy theoretical.
Okay, so anti-protons aren't really
Like
something we
we've
can
gotten
deal
a
with right
few.
now?
We've gotten a few. I think on the space station they have a cold atom station that
Uh-huh.
collects small amounts of dark matter, maybe. But
Interesting.
we can observe some of it. We just don't really understand what it is. It's kind of crazy. Like we can't
Right. Like,
physically see it. It's not actually
and what
visible.
do, what do we do with that?
We don't know. Like it's crazy stuff. This is the cutting edge, bros.
Hmm. Wait, I want to hear more from you. I haven't heard much.
You know, I got a subject that might pique Reed's interest. Have you guys heard
Um,
about Elon Musk baby's new name?
oh yeah, that's the reason I
Yeah,
mentioned the whole A12 thing.
Dude, Reed, look this up. This is insane.
I looked it up. I've seen
This
it.
mad guy
X8
named
A12.
yeah, he did the Bay AE thing. XAA12. Why did he do that?
So the idea around it is the X is just an X, but then 8 is pronounced Ash. And A12 it's like common name is Archangel, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
I mean you could call it, the SR-71 whatever Blackbird, whatever, black, I don't know. But yeah, it's Archangel. So the idea is that you combine the X with the Ash, and you get Sasha, which I think is a stretch, but people haven't like figured it out
Sasha and
yet.
then Sasha Archangel.
Sasha Archangel Musk,
That's really weird.
which is way more normal than X8
Yeah, I
A12,
think
but
I
like,
think Elon is being a bit pretentious here.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I
got
think
6 other kids though. One of them goes to Windward.
Yeah, bro, I saw the video when they were doing the Falcon Heavy launch,
Hmm.
and it was like, okay, they did like a clip of his kids, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this guy's had like 3 wives.
Yeah,
Kind of a
he's.
mad lad.
I mean, he and Grimes, they're not even married, right?
I think there are.
Are they? I
Wait,
thought they weren't.
are you guys into emo chicks? If you're Grimes, I don't know who she is, but she looks hella
I
emo.
don't know who she is either. I just know that's her name.
yeah. I literally just saw this before this started.
Yeah, Elon. This is such a weird couple. It's so Hollywood, bro.
Yeah,
Um,
very weird.
Really is.
that's pretty crazy though. Did you guys hear Tom Cruise wants to shoot a movie in space?
Does he now? That's gonna
No.
be a bit
He and
challenging.
Elon were in the mix. Of course, Elon Musk is about everything. So
Yeah.
apparently, he was trying to arrange with Elon if he could go into space, just to like the International Space Station or something, and shoot like a few scenes. But that would be super cool.
Oh, not the entire movie.
No, maybe the entire movie. I don't know. That'd be really cool though.
I
In
would.
I was talking
aboard the
about it, and
INS.
like everybody else was saying that like that's such a waste of money. But like if I was on my couch and I got a trailer that said the only movie ever shot in space, I'd be like, sorry, I gotta go
Yeah,
watch that.
I'd
Like
watch
it's in
that movie.
space.
Yeah,
So it's like okay, it's in space. You know?
that's just sounds like a cool idea.
Would you guys want to go to space?
Uh, sounds kind of scary, but I might do it anyways.
I would do it.
I would totally do it though.
You know, quick
Reed, you sound
pop.
so unconfident. Would you do it or would you not?
Yeah, I'd do it
Why?
just to experience it. I don't have a, I don't have like a particular attachment, but I just think the experience would be interesting.
You get to be one in a very small club,
Yeah, bro. Not as
and
cool
that'll
as the
change soon once it's
wait, no, what is it called?
industrialized.
What's it called?
Marinara Trench.
Is that what it's called?
It's like
The
the
trench,
marina.
like the really deep.
The Marinus. I don't know. I really don't know. Marinus Trench.
Mar
Mar-
not Marina.
Mariachi Trench.
Trench.
The
I really
Marinus?
am not sure.
Marinus? I don't know.
Marianus.
Mariana. I'm looking at it spelled out, but there's no like how to pronounce it.
How many
Mariana.
I?
I think it's Mariana. Mariana
Yeah.
Trench.
Marianas Trench. Okay.
Mariana Trench. I think
Well, there's
only
an
like
S, isn't
James
there?
Cameron and like 2 other people have been there.
Yeah. I mean, but honestly, to
Yeah.
me, that's not as cool as space. It's probably even more like
I think
undiscovered
that's
than
so
space.
So yeah,
I think
definitely the bottom of the ocean has like literally nobody goes there.
We find new fish from there like every day.
Yeah,
It's so
literally
weird.
I watched this like these submarine people and they just find like octopuses just all the time. It's like what is this? It's like oh it's a new cuttlefish
serious?
and it's just like it's just chilling.
Yeah.
It's
I
insane.
think bottom of the ocean is scarier than the space.
Definitely. Because
Yeah, I
here's the thing,
definitely agree.
like your spaceship cracks in space and it's like your air sucking out, but you just gotta plug that hole, right? You're fine,
Yeah,
right?
there's nothing coming in.
But like, here's the thing: you get a single hole on one of those submarines,
Yeah.
and the pressure of the water just like pushes
You're
that
gone.
stuff all the way through, you're dead. They made a watch for like it's called like I forgot. It's like an Omega. It's like the Omega Master Diver watch or something like that, right? And it has 3 inches of like glass or like diamond glass or like some form of clear like super strong material
Hmm.
so that your watch can still be ticking, but you have this humongous bubble on top of it that weighs like 5 pounds,
Yeah.
and it's meant so that divers can still keep time.
I mean, I dive. I know what it's like, but usually you have like it's digital. Like dive watches are big, like a big thing, you know? I have my own, and most of the time
Is
it's just
yours with like
plastic, but it's
24?
not rated. It's not rated to go down thousands and thousands of feet, like I'm sure some of
Yeah,
them are.
oh, almost 11 kilometers deep.
Yeah, mine could not do that for sure.
Holy smokes, that is insane. But think about going to space. I mean, that'd be insane. That'd be really crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
Mhm.
Think about it. There's just like nothing. I mean, space has a pretty fitting name, you know.
I mean, the Kuiper Belt is like so wide that you like
Oh yeah,
it
the
looks
Oort
like there's stuff
cloud. This
together.
is the greatest thing ever. You know the Oort cloud, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Oort cloud, despite the fact that it's like compared to space, there's a lot of stuff there because it's like there's actually stuff there. Each Oort cloud object is the distance of the sun to Saturn between each other.
That's
So
crazy
that's
to
like
me.
basically like half of a solar system is distance between every object. Like if you're on one of those rocks, the sun looks like another star, and you're just like alone in the universe.
Hmm.
Insane.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
And because isn't there like a specific amount that human brains stop like understanding, you know?
Yeah, we've
Like,
definitely reached that point. Dude, we
yeah.
reached it after figuring out multiplication. We weren't supposed to do that.
We're legitimately not smart enough to handle
Yeah,
the
I
universe.
think there's certain species that are like better at exponential thinking. I
Hmm.
actually heard that if you teach a baby exponential thinking early on, it'll be better at that than it will be better at normal.
I'm sure that goes for anything you teach a child.
Mhm. Yeah. So the problem is like numbers that are. I think it's like the one. What was it? It was like 12. Like 12 is the biggest number that brains historically was like able to calculate.
Really.
So we started getting bigger than 12s. That's
Pretty
kind of.
early
You want to know
on.
why 12? It's they figured this out by the Sumerians. The Sumerians. The reasons our time set is like 12 hours, 60 minutes, 60 seconds.
Hmm.
Is because the Sumerians their time scale was or their like counting scale was 12s and sixes.
Hmm.
So like
Interesting.
36 was a normal number that they did everything by, and that's why like a lot of things are counted that way
Huh.
by like
It's
those
weird to think
people.
that everything is based off of the Sumerians or something, you
I
know?
mean, other countries do other methods, but like that's how
We all have the same time system, though.
that is true. Except for calendars, but you know, which kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
ruins a good bit. But the 24-hour day thing is Sumerian all the way, I think.
Yeah. But I think we're pretty agreed on the Gregorian calendar, unless we're talking about religious calendars.
Yeah, but a lot of countries have like China. I think they count it as 2020, but like typically they like also write down the lunar date. Most
Right.
places that follow like that kind of idea, which is actually a good amount of the planet. Um, Reed, you got anything you want to add? I know we keep asking
Not
this, and it gets
really.
kind of funny.
Not
Reed, you
really,
got
no.
anything?
That's just gonna be a running bit. Hey,
Yeah,
Reed, what do you think about this?
Reed's gonna be like, I don't know.
No, I don't.
Reed, you got
Usually I
anything
do.
interesting you've heard about lately? Or anything?
No.
Really, no. Uh, I'm trying to think about a good question for you. Is there anything you're excited for, like that's coming out or anything? maybe near future. Could be
Something
in a bit.
I'm excited for.
Yeah, this
Uh,
sounds like a Zoom teacher question.
Yeah, it sure
yeah,
does.
that is a teacher question. I tend to not look too far into the future.
Very
Got a
wise.
very good
One
point.
day at a time keeps it easier on me.
Hmm.
I have something if Reed, you
Okay,
don't want to.
Ethan, you know what?
You want to
Just
add to this
maybe chill out.
conversation?
No, no, damn. No, Reed.
Yeah.
Reed, you gotta talk, bro.
I'm like thinking, Ethan should talk, and then I'll think of something
Okay.
because I honestly don't know.
Well, something that's happening right now. You guys see that like algae stuff that's in the water right now?
The bioluminescence?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
stuff is crazy. My family just went to go see it the other day. And they showed me a video of it, because I was doing the podcast yesterday. Um, but they showed me a video of it, and it's super crazy. And that stuff only appears like every like 17 years or something like that. That's not an accurate number,
Wait,
but it's something like that.
17? That's not that bad. I thought I was like missing out on a real thing.
No, I mean, my dad's seen it
Not bad.
before, but like,
My
I
plan is
remember
to go to
seeing
Madagascar. I heard somewhere in Madagascar they got crazy bioluminescence.
oh yeah, speaking of like, natural glowing, like the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis, I'm super interested in that stuff
What
because
a
I've never
transition.
seen it.
Yeah, my
You
dad saw
ever?
that one time in Minnesota back when he
Mm-hmm.
worked there.
All right,
He was driving and then just all of a sudden it appeared.
that's awesome. Yeah, I've heard it's super like inconsistent. You can't go and it'll be there.
Yeah, it's all about
It,
the magnetosphere and the whole shebang. I think the Aurora Australis has a better name though.
that sounds way better.
The Southern Lights. Also,
Yeah,
Almost Southern Nights, which is a pretty baller song.
almost Southern Rights, like Reed's album, not album,
playlist.
You guys could
playlist.
check out
Sorry.
Reed's album, Southern Nights. What is it? Is it on SoundCloud, Reed? Can you tell me? It's on
No,
Spotify,
it
yeah.
is a Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
I have quite a collection starting. Fun little
Wow.
pastime.
Yeah. Reed has been doing really good with the music collecting. Um, yeah, the Aurora Borealis is super interesting. Did you know Jupiter and Saturn both have auroras?
Oh, really? I think I heard something about that, but I haven't thought about it in a
Some of
while.
them are bigger than the Earth, which is kind of insane to think about.
That
Well, I
is
mean, both of those planets are bigger than the Earth, so I would expect it.
Yeah. But think about, like, this is the crazy stuff that I never understand. So, like, the Great Red Spot is 3 Earths wide. I don't know. It might. It's not. I
Yeah.
think it's shrinking. I think it's dying. It might be like 1 Earth, but
Is it
still,
really?
that's pretty big. Okay. So think about this. You're in the eye of the storm, which is what that red stuff is. It's like
Yeah.
so you're in that place. Think about what you're looking at. You're looking at like scarlet red clouds. I'm hearing feedback, so somebody's got to chill out.
It's not me. I hope it isn't me. I don't know, but
Anyway, so it got fixed. Cool. So you're seeing these scarlet red clouds. They actually didn't get fixed, but whatever. It doesn't matter. You're seeing these red clouds, and you're seeing like nothing, and this is like a humongous distance. Like the other side that you can see, since Jupiter's bigger. You can see more of the horizon
hmm
before it dips away. So you can just see this whole entire humongous valley of air that you're in. Absolutely insane. Let alone if
yeah,
you're
it's
in
great.
like space. What I always thought was interesting is we often get photos from a super high orbit or like not even in orbit of the object, right?
hmm
But like when these satellites and these probes that go to these other planets get really close to the body, when they take photos, it's like you can't even see anywhere at like it's just the planet takes up the whole view. Like it's just
Right.
there.
Yeah, I mean, we live on a relatively small planet.
Yeah. I mean, we're the biggest out of the terrestrial planets, which is pretty great.
Right. But, gas giants are still planets.
Yeah, and they're absolutely insane. Gas giants are
Mhm.
leagues more interesting. I mean, besides the fact that we have life, but whatever.
Yeah.
No big deal. We just have
little life.
living people.
Yeah. I think the origin of life is also super interesting to think about because, like, how proteins are just based off of, like, atomic structures and the idea that atoms join together to basically create what we are now. Like, that really these completely non sentient, just floating things combine to, you know,
Yeah.
eventually make us. That's crazy to think about.
No, there's this whole thing that's like, I think Carl Sagan or somebody said this. I'm a big fan of him. Somebody said
Yeah.
that all humans are is just a really neat thing that dirt does.
Yeah.
Like all we are, literally the only reason we exist is somewhere in the primordial earth, some bubbly mud decided to mix up a protein. That's what we believe. We believe that there was just
Yeah.
like DNA, or not even DNA exists. Cause DNA is made out of proteins. Like there was just molecules just sitting inside of a bubble, and it's bubbling up. And this is like 3 billion years ago. Like this is forever
For
ago.
sure. It was a long time ago.
There's like the sky is like probably like toxic. Like everything is completely different.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Like no resemblance to Earth. And then out of nowhere, some protein is created, and from there, I mean, that's it.
From there, Stalin.
Okay, that was very weird.
Uh,
I'm just saying, I'm not wrong.
Sure, I mean, but Gandhi, other people, a
Yeah.
cat,
and a lot
a
of other
dog.
things.
I was thinking, think about how fast life accelerated. So you had
Oh,
basically
and
like 1 billion years of just proteins, right?
Yeah.
mm,
And then it switched over to prokaryotes, right? And prokaryotes went
Right.
for about like 1 billion years. Then they finally got photosynthesis, still prokaryotic though. And then about I think it was like 500, 600 million years ago, eukaryotes started existing. And then all of a sudden we have Cambrian explosion. Then we have everything. Boom, 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 boom. Like 500 million years go by. It's not even like how long ago was the Cambrian explosion.
I'm not sure how long it
Oh, yeah,
was.
let me Google this.
it was
This
a
is
bit
something I
ago.
feel like a bit ago.
Yeah. It was more than a couple thousand years ago.
Sure
Yeah,
about that?
definitely more than a couple million years ago. Also, yeah, about
Or
500 million years ago. I was right. 541
I
million
know it
years
was
ago.
before
And
2004.
this just created all of life. I mean, boom, we had everything, and then we just went through a whole nother history. We just went through more and more and more and more and stuff. It's insane. Everything originated from this time. Then, at some points, like 97% of life died, and then we just came back a bit more different, and then all of a sudden we got human beings. And human beings in the short time span of 200,000 years, that's how long we've existed.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so short.
Like, and from that point, we went
Yeah.
to the moon. Like, that's insane. We went to the
Yeah.
moon, guys. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, some people will disagree with you, but yeah.
Okay, we went to the moon.
Yeah.
And if
Another
not,
thing I think
we're
is
gonna be going there soon if you want.
the one thing I do worry about is that all this growth was because of massive ecological die-offs, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like the Aboriginals, it's suspected that they literally burned Australia. Like the reason Australia has an outback, it used to be like a normal eucalyptus, or not even eucalyptus. It used to just be like varied megafauna, like incredible animals. Like the world's biggest bird has been found there, right? And all this crazy
mm,
stuff. It's suspected that they did controlled burning to the point where all of central and almost all of the western half of New Zealand, sorry, Australia, just died. And the only reason that the eucalyptus tree is one of the few indigenous trees, you guys want to know why?
Why?
because
It's
it was like
fireproof.
useful, right? Yeah,
It has immunity to
that's
fire.
so weird.
So that's what they believe happened, and that's why they believe it's like why Australia has so much of just one tree.
Hmm.
We kind of screwed up, not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're kind of used to doing that though.
I mean, well, I've always had a weird dream. It's so weird. I sometimes just wish that I was born in that time period where I would like die at 30, but I'd live like the most rustic human lifestyle possible, you know?
I get that.
Like
Yeah.
I wake up as a caveman, and I get to go out and look at pristine nature, and that's all I get to do, and I get to eat one of the most balanced diets ever. I read a book
I
about
mean,
this.
yeah.
I mean, they were super healthy. They actually used to be. They had bigger brains than us. Like they were almost all like in all ways better than us.
Like smarter or just from a
They
math
had
side?
bigger brains, and they here's the thing. So like we're quote unquote smarter, but these people had a detailed map of their surroundings, and it's like it's suspected that these were really good because sometimes in cave painting they have like really weird good geography, you know.
Hmm.
It's suspected
Weird.
that they had really good knowledge of the environment, really good knowledge about animals, like what part of the animal to eat, like all this stuff. They had just like a whole encyclopedia of knowledge that like sure you have people in the 21st century that maybe can like recite 100 digits of pi, but like
Mhm.
compared to these people who were also like jacked, these guys were humongous. They were
Hmm.
just
Well, but also this is a different time. You don't need to know this now. You have a map on your phone now. They definitely needed to know what part to eat or they would have died.
You've got a
exactly.
very good
I know we
point.
I
talked
feel
about
like our
like
parents
A,
definitely,
vitamin A, like
yeah.
so it's a different time. You need to know different stuff.
What about our parents?
I was gonna say our parents definitely had a better knowledge of their surroundings than we do.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Like I say it's so high and mighty that like I know what I'm talking about when I say something, but like truly our parents are like, oh yeah, you guys want to go to like Vicky's? It's like 2 blocks to the left down the street. And they like knew that stuff.
We don't know where that is.
Mushrooms.
Okay, mushrooms. All right, so now we're gonna talk about the stoned ape theory. So
Respect
basically,
the shroom.
what they believe is that possibly during like the cognitive revolution, which was the big point in human history when we switched over. It's kind of a weird thing to say. We didn't really switch our brains, but we just found a different way of using them, and this eventually led to the agricultural revolution, which again eventually led to just humans existing in a society and civilization in general. You know, so they believe that these like monkeys or these early mans took a bunch of psychedelics like mushrooms and or like just normal like fermented apples, but like fermented fruits are pretty like high on the alcoholic content if you leave them to ferment for too long. And they believe that that kind of switched the brains over, and then like people began communicating about that, and then that eventually switched all of humanity over. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think I see that happening as a response to what the apes did.
I mean, I like to think that all of religion was just a fan fiction that got out of hand.
Really?
I think that would
You
be
know?
really funny.
Do you guys,
Yeah.
Ethan? Do you have like no belief in religion? Would you say?
Um, I not in the like classic sense. Like, I believe in religion because I believe in its values. But I don't believe in religion because I believe in its history, you know? Like, yeah, I'm Jewish and I really do take pride in that, but because of what it stands for to me, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I care about it. But I don't care about it because of my faith in God, you know?
Yeah.
And like if there is a higher power and we don't know that, like I'm fine with that. I think I'm a fine enough person that I don't have to worry about groveling every day to get into heaven. And if I do have to do that to get into heaven, then it's not worth it for me.
Really?
Because I think a truly benevolent
Would you
God.
be down to go to hell?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying a truly benevolent God, which is what God is supposed to be, would let me into heaven because of who I am. And but like he wouldn't like not let me into heaven because I didn't go to church every day and believe in Jesus like as his son, you know.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
think if I was God, I would totally let me into heaven, but only because of like the way that I understand the religion, you know.
Yeah. I've always thought religion is really good. I think religion is pretty good. Now, like personally, I'm not a very religious person. I would call myself a man of science because I
Of
watch a
course.
lot of
Yeah.
Rick and Morty. Not joking.
Yeah.
But like I think so. Like a lot of my family historically, they've been very interested in the religion known as Christianity, and
Hmm.
I think a lot of people like to prosecute them and be like, oh, like they're kind of weird. They're Christians. It's like they believe God does everything, and it's like, okay, so like people can hate on it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a system they use to really incite hope and incite like more energy in people.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
you
It's
know what? I'm
revitalizing.
gonna
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
become a great member of society, and it's like that's awesome. And then they say why, and it's like because I wanna like be nice to Jesus, and it's like it's not a bad thing. Like they should just be able to work and live a happy life and put effort into their life and make great contributions to society, whilst believing in whatever they want. You know?
Yeah. It's about societal contribution. It's about being a part of a community.
Hmm.
And I think that's totally okay if it's a community that doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah,
Obviously, there are people and groups that take it too far, and that's where I start to have a problem with things.
totally.
That's
Yeah.
not generally what Christianity is.
Hmm. You
It's
know,
unfair to
you
say
know
that
what
it
I
is.
always think is interesting?
Hmm.
The fact that religions have died.
Kind of,
Like,
yeah.
do you guys know what like Zoroastrianism or whatever it's pronounced?
I've not heard
Mm,
of it.
nope.
This is like a religion, and it formed in Persia, Iran. Sorry, and it's one of the older religions in the world. It's spelled Zoroastrianism. But just
Okay.
and it's like this. It's one of the oldest religions in the world, and now it's basically completely dead except for one small state in Iran that has like the holy sites.
Hmm.
And it's insane to think that at one point a significant amount of people had faith within the gods and the mythos and the kind of creation story that this religion created. Same with like the Roman Greco kind of thing,
Hmm.
where it was
That they,
like
yeah.
Zeus and Kratos and those people.
Not Kratos.
Is
That's
Kratos not in the story?
That's
no.
great.
That's
Oh, it's
that's
Kronos, right?
that's
Whatever.
Norse.
Is Kratos not a real?
Kratos is Norse.
Kratos isn't.
I don't think he's Norse.
Wait, I don't think
Yeah,
he's
he
Norse.
is.
Kratos. No, I
Kratos
thought he
is
was
no. Kratos is
In
Norse.
Greek mythology,
based on
Kratos is the
Greek
divine
mythology.
personification of strength. Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's like the
he
son of he's like the
he
son of
Wait,
Ares or something
really?
like that.
Kratos
Yeah.
compels the
No,
mild-mannered
in the new
blacksmith
God
god.
of War,
He's one of the he works with the blacksmith god Hephaestus.
Yeah,
Ethan, in the new
Hephaestus.
God of War, he's in a Norse area, but he is Greek. I mean, he kills
Oh,
all
okay.
the
Yeah,
Greek
I'm
gods.
only basing this
Didn't he
off of the
kill
new God of
Zeus?
War.
We're like such nerds, bro. Oh my god. Yeah,
I'm only basing
Hephaestus.
this off of the new God of War. That's the only God of War I
Okay,
know.
yeah, okay, but also
Yeah, the
there's
previous
also a
God of
whole original.
War.
But like, here's the fact. This goes great to the point. Like we've kind of just completely relegated this to fiction. And at one point, I mean, people used to like Jupiter was like like literally all this stuff was crazy. These were like major influences in the world. Religion was like, and the Roman Empire was relatively important. In the Greeks, it was like they had a pantheon god system where it was like each city had their own big boy.
Yeah,
I mean, think about that. It's insane. It's just
yeah. I
insane.
mean, there are really big places in Greece that are, named after the gods.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they believe.
Athens.
Somebody wrote. This is all from
Like
like one
Athens,
book.
yeah.
Do you guys know the book Homo Sapiens by his name's Yuval Noah Harari?
No.
So like, I think it might be called Sapiens. I don't know. It's called something like that. He's a Israeli doctorate in, I think, probably anthropology. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
And and he wrote about this is like the stuff that I learned about the diet. It's like one of my favorite books out there. And he also wrote that the
Hmm.
reason that humans got to where we are is because we have the ability to create like a myth is what he said. He used the word myth, but I'm gonna kind of use the word like idea, because like other animals can have ideas, but they almost always have to be tangible. So like the dog can think about the food going into its bowl, but the dog can't think about the commercial value of that food and what impact it has on an economy. Because the economy doesn't exist to the dog. There's no physical representation of it, therefore it doesn't exist, you know?
Right.
But humans have the unique ability of creating representation out of literally nothing. So, like companies, kingdoms, nations, gods, all this other stuff is super unique to humans. And the guy basically writes how the reason like civilizations work is because we can all believe that a civilization exists.
Hmm.
Because like monkeys could be grouped up into a little pen, and we call it the monkey kingdom, right? But if the
Hmm.
monkeys don't want to think that they're in a kingdom, they're not in a kingdom because nobody's paying taxes, nobody's working for a kingdom. There could be a monkey king, but he has no monkey people to serve, you know?
Hmm.
Well, humans have the ability to create ideas like there is a monkey king, or in our case, like a human king, a human society, and they can believe in that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And think about all the great works that those early humans did.
I mean, yeah. Like, if we're talking really early, like you mentioned those cave paintings, and you mentioned how diverse and how specific they were, and we don't do that anymore.
Hmm. I always thought the most interesting stuff in the world is when humans just dug into caves and created like huge labyrinths and huge things inside of like a
Mhm.
mountain.
And they probably had purposes, you know.
I forgot where it was. Oh, man, I'm really hope I can remember this. There's one in Korea. It's called Seokguram. It's probably I'm definitely butchering that.
Hmm.
But it's like they dug a whole Buddhist temple into a cave. But there's another one that's like now completely barren. All it is like stone. It's just like completely like gray stone, and it's just cut into like staircases and archways and like walk paths and all this other stuff. And it's like,
Hmm.
just think about it. Like at one point, there was like a civilization that was
Hmm.
supporting that system and supporting the people in those caves. There was people in those caves, and there was like systems around that. And due to just the passage of time, it is almost completely unknown what happened.
Right.